with Sydney Saunier. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I had the pleasure of representing you. You trusted me to sell your home and
Yes.
get you a new one.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about a little bit about that too, because it was a roller coaster. Um,
Absolutely.
we had a buyer back out due to an inspection. Anyway, I haven't even introduced you as an inspector, but I'll go ahead and let you do that.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Sydney Saunier of Olive Branch Partners, Inspectors and Consulting. Um, I have been an IT professional for over 20 plus years, but be wanted to become a better homeowner, and I became an inspector. Been inspecting for over the last 3 years for doing trek work. New builder phase inspections, stucco inspections, individual system inspections, a roof inspection, or whatever a homeowner or property owner or builder or agent may need. I'm licensed in the state of Texas as a trek inspector as well. Just to, I can be reached at 346-305-9745, or you can email me at inspections at olivebranchpartners.com. Or you can reach me out at Facebook, Olive Branch Partners Inspections and Consultant, or you can find me at Sydney Saunier. Either way it goes, I'm available. I can be reached on any one of the platforms. So the main reasons for becoming an inspector as well, once I realized that a house is a collection of systems, it broke down to me. I started breaking it down pretty much like an IT system. And as I began to break the house down as an IT system, I became more interested in it and began to really enjoy it. So that's the connection between all of it. It wasn't just a random, oh, I'm gonna just go do this. Oh, I really like doing this because I'm curious. So that kind of led me down the path of becoming an inspector. And so far, I've truly enjoyed it. I like helping people. I like helping people discover things about their home. I like talking about it. You and I have had numerous conversations about certain things about homes, and we just end up rambling on. So, uh, with that being said, as you mentioned, you did represent me and my wife with our purchase and our uh, sale of our home. And one of the reasons why we're having this discussion is because we did have a buyer back out, and it was a very touchy moment. And I was concerned about it because an inspector's job is to inspect the property that he's at. Okay,
Right. At the
so
one that he was hired to inspect,
he
not
was
the
hired to
neighbors,
inspect the
not
yes, yes. And he did not. He started calling out, he got on the roof and he started calling out things in the other yard where the property I own was not affiliated with. I don't pay taxes there. It has no connection. And he missed some things about the house that I knew that he should have called out on the house he was really inspecting.
mm-hmm.
So for anyone who is using an inspector, their primary job is to focus on the house. You have inspectors that come in that look for problems
Mm-hmm.
when there is no real problem. The inspector job is look for consistency and system, and that's where I strive to be. Does it function? Does it is it safe?
Mm-hmm.
Does it do its job so that a family can live in this home safely and be protected from the elements, especially with all these crazy storms that we have going on and heat wave and all these things that we have. So from that perspective, I was looking at okay, he called out uh, very it was very wrong. The buyer decided to back out. It's a very tough time. My wife is upset. My agent is upset.
Well, first of all, so I remember getting a text from the agent and she said, "What's up with the neighbor's backyard?" And the English was not her first language. So um I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But she actually was saying, "What's up with the backyard?" And
Right.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" That's if you had one of the biggest lots in the neighborhood. It was
Yes.
green grass, well cared for, covered patio, and brand new fence. So yeah, I go, I don't know, I'm confused. You tell me what's up with the backyard. And after all of us decoded her message, she came out and said the inspector said there was 5 dogs in the neighbor's yard.
Yes, but it wasn't 5. That's
Hey,
part of the problem.
yeah,
It
yeah, and that broke the deal.
broke the deal.
His opinion of the neighbor's dogs broke the deal.
Broke the deal. Absolutely.
And we had never had issues. We had never had issues at the listing
No.
appointment. I had never heard barking dogs. And, everything happens for a reason, but we ended up getting a really great buyer.
Yes, we did.
So maybe the inspector saved us a huge headache from
Maybe
the
so.
rest of the transaction. I don't know. But the point is, you want to hire an inspector that stays in his lane.
Yes.
And sticks to the facts.
Right.
So I'll let you go ahead and finish.
And along those lines, yes, it is the inspector's job to stay in his lane, stick to the facts, but give the details so that everyone who is a decision maker can make an adequate or accurate decision about what they need to do, where what can they live with. No property is perfect,
Right.
So there's going to be something,
even on new construction.
Absolutely.
We'll find several.
Absolutely. So what can you deal with? What can you live with? What is this something you can manage with, or you feel you can? It's in even in relationships, it's the same thing. Certain people have certain ways about themselves. Certain people have different things. So you have to learn, okay, can I deal with this? And is this adequate enough? And what I need to be able to manage for this home or property or whatever it is. How can I do this? Will this work for me? And an inspector's job is to convey all this information forward within the standards by TREC, because we are in Texas and inspectors are governed by the Texas Real Estate Commission.
Right.
So it's his responsibility, his fiduciary duty to do those things and do it in a fashion where he keeps his opinion in line with about the house according to those facts. So after that, we did get another buyer and another inspector who came out, and he called out certain things that I knew that, that was something to look at. And he and I had a brief conversation just because he met me at the house, and everything went fine. We made the deal work. Buyer met the terms, and everyone moved on with their lives and on to the next deal. But I just want to make sure that we have an understanding that the inspector's job is to build relationships between everyone. He's basically there to kind of referee what is really going on, in a sense of, here are the details, here are the facts about what it is. You guys make the decision. You need someone else to come out with an honest opinion about it, unbiased, and that's the job. That really is the job.
Yeah.
And focus primarily just on the house. For anyone interested in finding an inspector, get them to give you a brief overview of how they go around the house, or how they look at the home, or how they look at any property. What is kind of like your first 1, 2, 3 steps? Like you're running a play, or in sports, you have some plays that you run, kind of like the script, and then you start breaking it down within yourself. But they should be able to give you that relatively quickly, so that you can get an idea of what kind of person you're dealing with, or what kind of inspector you're actually dealing with, and see if they're a good fit for you and what you're trying to accomplish. So along those lines, I strive to be consistent, and be dependable, and keep in that area of, this is what I see, this is what I've documented, this is what it is. We can have a conversation about it. We can definitely have a, or we, and then up to my knowledge, because I'm not a expert or a licensed technician on AC or HVAC or anything, but
Right.
we can get someone who is, or I would say refer that over to someone who is, or refer that over to a roofing person, but something is wrong right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we start to break down into the individual skills in order to have a
Right.
overview of what the property is or isn't.
I like to describe you guys as primary care doctors, like a general practitioner, where
Exactly.
you send or recommend a specialist if you see something
Yes.
system.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, yeah, and then if the buyer were to ask, you can probably refer some people.
We can. And even some guys out here, they may be one or the other, but they have to disclose that up front
Mm-hmm.
for the guidelines of Trek. So it just so happened that I'm not. I
Mm-hmm.
want to I want to focus in my energy on the property,
Right.
giving
Right.
you the best. I think that's where my best value, that's where my skill set lies,
Mm-hmm.
along with my knowledge from previous work uh, as an inspector and even previous work as IT. It all kind of, it ties in for me. It may not tie in for everybody else, but that's where I feel that my skills really come to, because I can hold a conversation about it and I'm not uncomfortable with it,
Right.
and I feel we can work it out and figure it out. And if we need additional people, we can find those as well.
So my license requires that I get a background check. I get fingerprint, all those things because I have access to people's homes. So you guys go through the same kind of background check.
Yes, ma'am. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do go through a background check. That's pre-licensing. You go through the background check with the DPS.
Mm-hmm.
So then after you go through the background check, you get in line with Trek guidelines. You follow the educational process, and after you finish the educational process about all the different systems of a home, you take your tests. They have had some recent guideline changes, but we also follow a standard of practice that is heavily guided by what we're supposed to do, about our responsibilities as inspectors. And with that, we strive to stay within those guidelines. There are sometimes individuals kind of step outside and those guidelines. However, um, we for the most part, I know everybody's trying to just do a good job and be progressive in how they treat their customers. They treat it, you know, I can say for myself, I would treat it and I look at it as if a family member was in this home. So that gives me a certain level of, I feel, responsibility to my customers, to my agents, to my builders. Uh, that way that I strive for higher quality
Mm-hmm.
and the consistency to stay up there, so that I want them to know that when they call me or I'm on site, you know what you're getting from me. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to be 100%, like you said, like a family practice doctor. You know, they're not going to diagnose everything about everything in a 10-20 minute visit. So, but their consistency, these doctors, they have information, they have certain tools that they use. We do have a toolkit that we come on site with to measure. We take pictures, we create the reports per the guidelines. You will receive your report within 24 hours after receiving payment. And some people may kind of wonder what that actually means. So someone pays you, let's say with a check, that check has to clear, then the clock begins for that report to be delivered. So these are all things that maybe sometimes experienced and um, new homeowners may not know. Um, just for them to have a report or a document about their property, so
Right.
that if something does pop up, they can kind of have a guideline. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of knew this or kind of knew that, or that wasn't a problem before. What happened in between there? And we can go from there. So all those things are important, and that's what my goal is, to give that high quality as best I can level of service and commitment and dependability.
Right. I didn't know that about the whole payment and report.
Yes. So that's part of the training. So, some people may pay it at the end of the inspection. Some people may, depends upon the terms that you work out. Some people pay up front. And so once you're finished, the inspector's on the clock,
Yeah.
24 hours. So you have 2 days, or let's say 2 business days. That's what it's really called.
Yeah.
But you can actually do this. So from there, um, that's how you're supposed to do it, because let's look at like our situation. It's an option period. You guys are under the gun.
Yep.
You need to get that information to this particular buyer, seller, something within that option period, so that can be turned around and somebody can make an accurate decision on which direction they should go. In our case, it was more they waited till the end, and then that caused a ripple effect on the home we were trying to purchase at the time.
Yeah.
So even though they came early on in the option period, it was later in the week
Yep.
before we actually found out. So just being responsive and being connected to your clients
Right.
is a very fundamental part of how you should operate and how you should move forward with the business.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. For one, you guys are educated on the contract. So you know about the option periods, time is of the essence, and that's really
Yes,
important. And then two, don't wait until the end of option to negotiate, because you're pretty much relying on the other agent to have their complete schedule open, and her sellers, or
yes,
his or her sellers. So things need to be negotiated. I know in that crazy market, I would negotiate a 3-day option, but I would have somebody lined up for inspection. I knew that inspector turned in reports right away.
absolutely.
The inspector and I had a relationship where he could be like, he could just send me a text and say, no major issues. And so we
Right.
would know, okay, this should, you kind of, you're mentally prepared for the
Yes, ma'am.
report and negotiating, and you can communicate with the other agent right away. So
Right.
yeah, it's a whole streamline of communication. And
Right.
so it's really helpful when your inspector knows that, and can, communicate and stay within those guidelines.
Absolutely. And for even though I was inspecting, I had not gone through the home
Mhm.
purchase buy process in a very long time. So I didn't really understand or really recognize the need uh, of all these tiny steps that can be a ripple effect
Yeah.
on how the process actually works to make a decision that can either set your family up for success,
Hmm.
hurt them.
Yeah.
So that's why this, the being responsible about being connected with your agents, letting them know, letting your client know, just hey, it's coming or working on it, about done. You know, you're responsible to the person who's actually paying you and their representatives, but just keeping everyone kind of in a loop that you're working on it or it's about done or whatever it is. That way you can keep that calm down. One of the things that I've realized as well, one of my gifts is kind of managing that calm and kind of leveling, even though there are times I can get a little excited, but I think in that process, because you're on that clock and you recognize that time frame, is up to the inspector to help manage that and help move that needle forward so that someone can make a decision. And that's basically what I'm, just saying about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Do you have anything else to add?
Um, I think pretty much everything. Just repeating everything I said. If you looking for an inspector, you need one. I can be reached at 346-305 9745. If you want to email me, email inspections@olivebranchpartners.com, or you can reach me out at Olive Branch Partners Inspection and Consulting on Facebook, or Sydney Saunier. Just reach out if you need something. We can definitely work on a single system. One of the things I was talking about, single system, I spend a lot of time on several hundreds, if not thousands, of inspections of phased inspections
Mm-hmm.
for new builds, substrate when they're putting the walls up, or pre-cover. Some people might call it that. The lath inspection, make sure the lath for stucco is the base of the lath is properly adhered to. The roofing for stucco, flashing at the windows, making sure all those things are in proper order, so that that M word doesn't have an opportunity to sneak into the house and have the house as sealed as possible.
Yeah.
So, and then finally come back at a final and make sure that the house is sealed as much as possible, so that water doesn't creep in any one of these crevices. Just recently, I over the past weekend, actually, I went to visit a friend, and he owns a restaurant, and I was able to look at his property, and they just put a new roof on, or roof in the last few years. But I was like, oh, I'm just looking at it, and I was like, okay, so the roof looks kind of nice. I said, okay. I said, how's it been working? He said, oh, we got a problem over here and over there. I said, really? So I just immediately just made a beeline, and I looked at it, and I called out some things with his flashing, and he and his wife are going to work on it. And it helped to bring some of those things. It's like, okay, these are individual systems. And that's just one of the moments. Can't really turn it off. When you become one, you just, you
Mm.
know, if you see something that kind of catches your eye, you go to it. So um and just for anyone, again, like I said, you have builders warranties that are coming due. If you're interested in getting an inspection prior to the close of that particular warranty, we're available for that. Are you been in your home a while, or building, and you feel like you got a certain spot, or you need someone to take a look at it, we're available for that one too. So
Or even like a pre-inspection before it's listed. Maybe
yes,
a lot of
even that
people,
as well. Yes.
and different inspectors will catch different things.
Yes.
It gives you kind of something to work with. Maybe you,
Yes. Yes. And as you grow, you can get familiar with they usually know someone who can help you if there is a problem. Not
Mhm.
every time something, you know, I know you've had other guys you've had streams with, and one of them recently said that there wasn't really a problem. It just was dusty, or it was dirty, and so you may have a situation where you think it's really something bad, and it's really not. It just needs
Mhm.
a little bit of cleaning, or a little bit of homeowner maintenance.
Right.
And that, like I said, that was one of the drives of my desire to become an inspector, was to be a better homeowner overall. And some things you can do yourself, some things you may not have the skill set or the tools for.
Mhm.
Um, and or some things you just want to try. That's all well and dandy. So as you continue down that path, you can either expand your tool set, you can
Mhm.
expand the people that you use as a reference, and then you can also, if you choose not to do it at all, you can just call someone.
Right. Right. And make that repair when the time happens.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
one of my recent listings, they had just within the last 2 years, they had gotten a new roof.
Hmm.
And the roofers didn't reattach some of the vents in the attic. So, I mean, it's my seller mentioned something about, the last 2 years we've had carbon monoxide just fill in the attic because they didn't. So it might be a good idea to get an inspection after something major like that. And I know
Yes.
it's a large expense, but it's pretty minor compared to, health issues for your family. And you're kind of an advocate for that,
Yes.
and just making sure everything is safe in the home.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, what's the use if we're not gonna,
Well,
we pay for the shelter, and if it's not safe, then I mean, what's the point?
well, you're trusting your life in this shelter, okay?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because when you go to sleep, you're trusting that it's going to stay together. You're
Hmm.
trusting that your family, you have your kids,
Hmm.
or when extended family comes, you're trusting that they're protected under
Hmm.
this roof
Hmm.
that you paid for. So you want to know what is under the roof. So when we moved to the next home, um, I started going through it like I did with the previous house. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this. I want to look at that. And I keep going through it and say, oh, you might live at a certain standard and things might not be where it's not that it's not functioning. You just may not, I don't like the way that one looks or something like that. So then you have an opportunity to change it. But when you bought it, it's not that it was broken, it was working.
Right.
So you just want to make a change, or it's not even necessarily a meme out of you just you just want to change it because you want to have something different. So in those kind of scenarios, the safety, the smoke detectors, and there are different terms and conditions around that because you don't want to set it off when you're inspecting
Hmm.
and it's connected to the alarm system and the fire department comes up, and that's a whole nother different deal.
Right.
But you want to at least see some sort of blinking lights or something on them. Like, okay, is there power to it? You want to identify that for the carbon monoxide and the regular smoke. So all these things actually matter. Balance in the air. You can check, your delta T's and things of that nature. Make sure the stove works,
Yeah.
the microwave is working, the dishwasher, the garbage disposal. All these things matter because you want to make sure that you're doing your best to maintain your investment,
Right.
protect yourself. So
Well,
which is
also, I mean, there's a lot of people renting, and
yes,
if you suspect something, and if your landlord owns a lot of properties, you might have
right.
trouble, convincing him, but you can also get an inspection on that home. Do you want to? No. But if you suspect that there's something going on, then you can get an inspection. Or if you smell mold, maybe go get an air quality test. So,
Yes.
I mean, you can do those on those too. A landlord has to provide a habitable home.
Yes.
So, you know,
And I didn't, I wasn't even thinking about the rental aspect, but if you are in those type of scenario, you're still paying, even though you don't own it, you're still paying to house your family.
yep.
So that's and if you have a right to of getting that inspected, and I know you're more in that rental space way more than I can imagine, but uh people who are those clients can request that from a landlord.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was great. I actually learned something. Thank you.
No, thank you. I truly appreciate you and the time you've taken to put me on your live stream as well, and be out here and present my brand, and also representing us. You've done a great job at doing that as well. So I truly appreciate
Well,
that
I
too.
appreciate you trusting me with it.
Not a
That
problem. Not a
that
problem.
is the biggest thing here.
Yes, and
But yeah,
and and I wanted to come along those lines. I wanted to come out and say, okay, we trusted you. That's why you
yeah.
trusted me. So
Well, you've been doing this a while too. I mean, you were when we were going through your personal transaction, you were doing a lot of new construction. I think
yes,
that was your gig at the
yeah,
time.
yes, yes,
So
it
a lot of
was.
construction.
Yes, it was.
I do have to ask you, what are you doing about this heat right now? Because you guys are getting in attics.
So what I have a, a setup where I have a I have a hat, a hard hat or a hat that comes down right here. So with COVID, everybody was wearing a mask. Okay. So I have this neck garter that I put around my neck and it comes up underneath my glasses. So it catches all my sweat.
Uh-huh.
And I wear these shirts that allow me to absorb all the sweat from outside. So actually, I can be cool in the heat as I sweat because if there's a breeze, it's going to cool me off.
Yeah.
So, and I can stay pretty dry and I can stay pretty focused on the house. So it's actually worked in my advantage for me to figure it out. And so along these lines, that's some of the technology, or I kind of use this Kaizen kind of process about figuring things out, regardless of what it is. It's like, okay, how do I stay dry? How do I not, basically pass out here or in someone's attic? So I change the materials that I use, or I evaluate all the materials and the tools to try to maximize the efficiency, maximize the value. So that's how I protect myself. And it has worked, and it hasn't hurt my skin. So
Yeah. Well, so what I do is I'm gonna reshare this, make a post, but I'll tag your company, and then I'll put your contact information,
yes,
and then
ma'am.
I'm gonna post a picture of you. You took a
Perfect.
picture in the reflection of a window, and you were just completely.
Covered. Right. Yes, absolutely. And all you
We
saw was hard hat and glasses.
So Sydney's wife, she is stunning, just beautiful, and she's a firecracker. But I laugh because, I've had you on a property search for years,
Right.
and she looks through that property search. She finally found the perfect house after a few years of being on that search, and I swear I thought I turned off the search. I normally turn off the search when you guys go under contract
Right.
because I don't want
Right.
although she's very picky. I'm convinced she probably wouldn't find another house as perfect as the one you have, but
Right.
it makes me laugh because I can see when people look
Right.
at the search, and she still looks every
Yes.
day.
I guess.
And I want to turn it off, but I don't, because it kind of makes me laugh every day. I kind of get a little chuckle out of it.
Yes. Just as it entertains the both of you, I just leave that alone. I'm just looking at whatever house
He has no idea that
whatever house you guys
we're
pull
in.
me up at, I'm gonna look at. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty much my goal. And you've seen us interact, and it's like, I
It
don't
is
know.
hilarious.
I'm just going. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
well, Sarah, why are we here? Like, well, she called. Okay, well, yeah, she called, and well, why y'all looking at me? It's like, I'm here. All right, yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. No, I don't like it. Okay, so,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah, it is a sight to see us in action. All three, especially all three of us, and going at it and everything. But
yeah.
I know it was challenging. It was a tough time at times, but truthfully, we had a blast, and we're all blessed throughout the process. But this was one thing that it kind of just fell in line with, like, wait a minute, why did all this actually happen? I was like, this is why. Okay, now we know. And so now we have the opportunity to share the story, be transparent about it, and represent you, represent me, and us have an opportunity to be able to, okay, we're in this community. We're both licensed in the state of Texas. So we can flow throughout the state, but we do have a story to tell.
Yes. Yeah. I would say you guys have a pretty good story to tell. That is one that both of those transactions, the selling and then the buying, is a perfect example of why just agents and lenders just stick to the rules, the facts, don't get emotional.
Right.
Because
And
there's so many things that happened that were outside my control, and I had to have a lot of tough conversations with
right.
the other agent, you guys. It
Right.
could have been really stressful.
Right. And and another thing that, I'm just going to share it
Mhm.
Nobody. We lost um, we lost lending companies. They got bought out in the process. You remember that? Our
Oh,
lender,
yes.
yeah. It wasn't a matter of
No, he
credit,
switched
money, any of those issues. The lender got bought out in the middle of all of this, and
that was
the title company. The lender switched, and the title company switched in this between the same transactions. We had it all.
we
Both.
had every
We had everything.
and it was just sticking in those timelines
Right.
because it was a domino. It was
Yes.
in the crazy market when no one was accepting contingencies for
Right.
some reason. We had a whole line. So
Right.
you were buying from sellers that were buying from another person, and you had to sell, and then those sellers were buying. It was four.
Right. Right.
It was nuts, and
It,
I mean, just
yes. Yes.
a couple of the houses fell through, and then had to get back in. Oh,
Yes. Yes.
there
Yes.
were a couple times where I was like, "Is this worth it? I need to go get a normal job."
Exactly.
And then in the end, it's yes,
It worked. In
it's
the end,
worth
it
it.
worked.
You've
You
built
know.
these relationships because I feel like everybody handled, I don't know, maybe not everybody handled
Well,
well, but
it went the way it was supposed to go.
it did. It
So obviously there was a higher power involved because I know we were doing the best we could, and some something had to
Mhm.
a higher power had to come in and carry us through.
Yeah.
So that's that's what I just kind of stayed the course as things transition. Um, again, everyone was feeling what they were feeling, but I just believed as well that we were supposed to move forward, and we kept moving forward, uh, and it all worked out. We had a seamless transaction on the date that we were scheduled to close. Everybody lined up, and it just went, like clockwork because we had done all the previous work. And when it was time to actually move into the home, it was clockwork. It was a little testy at times, but everything worked out. So we're all blessed in that regard, and thank you for hanging in there with us. We truly
Oh,
appreciate that.
yo, I appreciate you hanging in there. I remember just going through, just having very long conversations with Avia, and we would dissect everything.
Right.
And then she would just say, I just have imagined myself. I just know I'm supposed to be on that back patio. And
Right.
I'm like, well, there you go. Like, it's you just have to remember the why.
Yes.
And yeah, but anyway, I'll end this stream. This is probably the best part of the interview. Like just the authentic, like back and
Right. Right. Right.
uh,
Right. Absolutely.
it. And then if anyone's listening right now or you're listening later, thank you so much. I'm going to end the stream and stay on just a second.